Hey guys, Reese here and welcome back to another video. So I want to go ahead and start this video off today with a question. For those of you interested in participating, go ahead and comment down below what percentage of Americans you believe are on track to retire by 65. Well, unfortunately, Yahoo Finance says that 64% of Americans are on track to be broke in retirement. Not on track for retirement, but will be broke in retirement. That's just a crazy, crazy number. 64% of Americans, give or take, are working their way through the system, working their 9 to 5, maybe they're self-employed, they're contributing to their 401ks, their IRAs, and unfortunately they're not gonna have enough money to retire even by 65. And the number one complaint by these 64% is that they don't make enough money to save. And the second category that these 64% say is that they're already financially stressed with their bills, which is pretty much the same thing. They don't make enough money to contribute, to save for retirement. And now we've already talked about this in a previous video where, a lot of people don't understand just how much they spend on expenses and how much of that is unnecessary. And so, of course, it's extremely important to track your expenses, create a budget, and then figure out how much money you need to make to pay your absolute necessities and then save some money for retirement. And those of you interested, I'll link a couple videos, one related to budgeting and one related on how to save more money for you guys to watch after this video if you're interested. However, what about those of us that want to get a little crazier? What if 65 is just too old for some of us? What if we want to retire early? What if we want to retire by 30, for example, when you're starting in your early 20s? And hey, what if you're past 30 already? Well, no problem. It's better to start now saving for retirement and working through what we're going to talk about today than to wait until you're a few years away from 65 and still don't have enough money saved up. So let's go ahead and get started working towards the path of retiring early now. And guys, if you like this topic, I'd love for you guys to go ahead and like this video before we dive into it. As well as if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to see you guys all subscribe and be a part of the family where we talk about financial freedom, like we are in today's video, real estate, and other financial topics. So guys, I'd really appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let's dive right into the video. So first and foremost, financial freedom is such a passion of mine. A lot of us are working through a 9 to 5 job that we don't enjoy, and in addition are coming up short on our bills. And the stress that comes from not having your finances in order is probably, and I don't have any facts on this, but is probably the leading cause to a lot of issues we have in society today. And in my opinion, the first step to creating real wealth is obtaining that financial freedom. Having financial freedom, which to me is just enough money to cover your bills and allow you to do whatever you want to do, does just that, opens up time to pursue other avenues, which in turn can create that financial abundance if you're one of those people that are aiming not just to have enough, but to have more. And becoming financially free and retiring by 30 gives you just that, opens up all sorts of possibilities. Whether or not you want to retire by 30 and travel the world, retire by 30 and volunteer and help out your community, or take another route and watch TV all day long, whatever, it's your choice and you aren't struggling for finances at this point in time, and you can make decisions based on your passion and not your financial need. And that's all that retirement is financial freedom. You've saved up enough money, or you've built income streams that are enough to cover your monthly expenses, and therefore you can do whatever you want. You can leave your 9 to 5 job and not need that income to fund your lifestyle. And so in order to scoot that standard date up from 65 to 30, which is a substantial cut in time to save and invest money, you need to do a couple things. You need to work very, very hard for a shorter amount of time, and you need to be smarter with your money and invest it smarter. So guys, the first step to achieving anything in life, once again in my opinion, is to set goals and understand what you really want. Because without setting goals, you have no path to follow. You don't know what doors are open, what doors are closed in order to achieve those goals. So for example, I'm 26 years old and I've accomplished what the FIRE community, which is the Financially Independent Retire Early group, what they call lean FIRE, which is I've established sources of income through real estate. that fund a very lean lifestyle. It covers my very basic expenses enough where I can quit a job if I wanted to and never do anything again if I want to live off this very measly, lifestyle where my housing is paid for and my basic necessities are covered as well. And for some people, this is all they want. They just want to get out of their 9-to-5 job as soon as possible. And, it doesn't matter. They don't need a very, lavish lifestyle. They just want their investments to cover their basic necessities. However, for many others, they want to retire with the lifestyle they're currently living, or they want to retire very lavish. They want to be able to ball out at the clubs and have Lambo money and, really enjoy their 30s, 40s, 50s, and, beyond. And now this option is probably doubtful for those of us that want to retire by 30 unless you really, really work hard or you hit the jackpot. I'm never going to say never, but it would be very difficult. However, it is very possible to retire lean or retire with your current lifestyle given enough time and effort. So what is your goal? Set that right now, establish that goal, or talk that over with your family and figure out what you guys need in order to retire early. And then we can dive right into step 2, which is, figure out how much money you need to fund that lifestyle you desire. You've established this goal lifestyle that you want to have in retirement. Now you need to figure out how much money do you need coming in every month to fund that lifestyle. Let's say, for example, you want to fund just your current lifestyle in retirement. Well, you should go watch that video I linked on budgets and work through that to establish a budget. And that means you're going to track your expenses for a few months. Figure out what you're spending in every little area using maybe a service like mint.com to track that, and then cut out all the fluff. There's a lot of things that we spend money on that don't contribute to our happiness or improve our lifestyle, and we can just cut that out because that extra spending is going to make it very difficult to retire early if we have to then fund that extra cost. So go ahead and work through that first, and that'll be how much money you need every month to fund your current lifestyle. Now, even if you want to retire very wealthy with a lot of money coming in, you should still figure out what is your goal. So do you want to drive a Lambo and live in a mansion? Well, how much does it cost to buy and maintain or pay those lease payments on a Lambo and maintain that car with insurance and all of that? How much is PITI and maintenance on that mansion of yours? Figure out these costs so that you don't just have a pie in the sky number, you have an actual number set in stone that you need to achieve, and therefore you have a much clearer vision on what you need to strive for and what you need to accomplish by 30 or whatever age you want to retire at. And now step 3, very simple. We need to figure out how much money we need invested to generate that monthly number we just came up with that we need to fund our retirement. And this comes down to one thing, plain and simple: the return that we can expect on average from the asset class we choose. Well, if you want to invest purely in the stock market, maybe some growth stocks, maybe some dividend stocks, and you want to retire by 30, then the general rule of thumb is that you can withdraw 3% of your stock account balance every year to fund your lifestyle without ever running out of money. That means if you want to live off $3,000 a month in retirement or $36,000 a year, we need to multiply that $36,000 by 33, which means you need about $1.2 million invested in the stock market to be able to pull out that $36K a year and not deplete that balance. However, let's say you're Andre Jick and you invest only in dividend stocks, and your portfolio has an annual dividend average of 4%. Well, you can withdraw that 4% and leave the principal in your account and never run out because you're only withdrawing the new money from dividends. And therefore you can withdraw that 4% and you only need $900,000 to retire early. And right away we see how important getting the most return on your money is in order to retire early. We dropped from 1.2 to 900,000 by increasing our possible withdrawal rate by 1%. And this also shows the importance of cutting the fluff out of your budget because of how much money it costs to, say, provide you $100 a month. $100 a month in income is $1,200 a year, and say you're only pulling out 3% of your account balance. Well, 33 times 1,200 is about another $40,000 you need invested in the stock market in order to fund that $100 a month. So if you can cut out a few subscriptions, a daily Starbucks, in order to get to your goal of retiring early, that might be worth it depending on your goals. Now for me, my asset class is real estate. And this won't work for everybody, as in my last video, a lot of people brought up how real estate might not be the best investment option depending on your market. So in Columbus, Ohio, where I am, I will not buy a property that does not cash flow at least 15% after I've fixed it up. And usually I can get above 20%. That means my return on investment, my cash on cash, 20%. That's incredible. That's going to cut down the amount of principal I need invested substantially. And so if I want that same $36,000 a year in cash flow, which would cover my expenses, at a 15% return, I only need $240,000 invested in real estate. That seems a lot more manageable in, say, 5 to 10 years, depending on how old you are and you want to retire by 30, than $1.2 million. That's going to require a lot more income, a lot more effort, and a lot more invested every year. However, like I said, real estate may not be the best option for you. You could always do a Regulation A syndication if you're not accredited with a 6% cash flow. There's investment opportunities out there that you guys can look into, find the best one based on your market, and the one that has the highest return that doesn't have a super high risk of losing your investment, because obviously if you're investing for retirement, you don't want to lose that capital. However, do your own research and find out what the best option for you is. Now, the fourth and final step, how do we get there, 1.2 million is a lot of money. 900,000 is a lot of money, and that's only for $36,000 a year. Any way you slice it, this is a large amount of money that we need to save and invest. And that's why a lot of Americans are not on track to retirement is, they don't know how much money they need to save in order to live off their retirement fund. A lot of people don't realize that if you want to retire at, say, 65, it's substantially easier to retire at that age if you start at 20 versus if you start at 50. And the same goes for if you want to retire at 30. If you're starting at 15, it's substantially easier to retire with a lot more money coming in by 30 than if you're, say, 25. And if you're 26, 7, 8, 9, and you haven't gotten started yet, you have to work very hard, or understand that, hey, it might be 31, 2, 3, 35 that you're retiring at, but no harm as long as you get started now. So how do we tie this all together? Well, let's say you're 23 right now, you want to retire by 30, you have 7 years to get there. Well, if you want to retire based on our real estate example with $36,000 coming in a year, you need $240,000 invested, which means you need to save around $35,000 a year and invest that in real estate that cash flows 15% in order to retire by 30. That's a lot of money, but it gets a little worse. Say you want to retire off dividends, and that's 4% average coming in. That $900,000 example saved over 7 years. Well, that's $128,000 a year that you need to stash away in order to retire by 30. And now, of course, your money will grow in the stock market, so you have to save a little bit less than that and hope your money increases over time, which it should on average. However, any way you slice it, $128,000 a year is just going to be impossible for most people unless you're raking in $200,000 a year at that ripe age of 23 years old. And that's why the higher return is so important. Saving $35,000 a year is still difficult, but if you pursue, the BRRRR investing strategy, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, well, you can work through value-add real estate, pull that money out, invest it in a new property, meaning you have to make substantially less money to invest that same $240,000. Very cool with real estate. However, if real estate isn't your thing, you need to get that return as high as possible or make substantially more money. And really your only options making $200,000 a year at 23 years old is a job that pays you based on your results and not your time. You're most likely not a doctor by 23, and if you are, which, congratulations, that's awesome. I don't know if you're making $200,000 yet, depending on your field. However, I just interviewed a 19-year-old, which I'll link that video as well. A lot of videos linked in this one, but interviewed him, and he's 19 years old, first year in real estate, making $200,000 a year. He's gonna make over $200,000 a year, actually. And that's because his income's based on results and not the time he puts into it. And so we see by running these numbers, setting our goal, figuring out how much money we need to cover that goal, it's going to close certain doors and open others. You know, you can't work a $35,000 a year job and invest in the stock market and not do anything else and hope to retire by 30. It's just not going to happen. However, you might be able to through real estate if you do a BRRRR investment strategy. And you know, if you have no desire to work based on results and not your time, you like your 9-to-5 job, well, you need to invest in something with a higher return, such as real estate, or just accept retiring later. And I don't mean to discourage anybody, but I want to show you guys that this doesn't happen through luck, it happens through hard work and preparation. And if you know your numbers, it becomes a lot simpler because you know which doors you can't go through and which doors you should go through. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that helps clear things up for those of you that are really looking to retire early, retire by 30. And you know, let me know if you like these types of videos. I love talking about financial freedom. It's a passion of mine. And so I love bringing you these videos based on, you know, passive income, achieving financial freedom, you know, retiring early, real estate investing, all things like that. So guys, go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and give me a subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Helps my channel out a lot, especially the subscribing, helps me grow. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.